Hey chess friends, National Master James Canty III here with Chess.com, and today we have game of the day. With the white pieces we have Dragon, and with the black pieces we have Leela Chess 0. What a game. Let's see it. Okay, so from the beginning here, Dragon plays e4. Nice. Best by test, Bobby Fischer, right? E4. Let's see it. G6, we have a modern defense. So this one can be already very swashbuckling and counterattacking and very, very fun because you are giving up the center very early. D4, Bishop G7, all modern stuff. Modern lines in the modern. After Bishop G7, Knight to C3, and then C6, which is a different type of modern. You can see the Gurinidze variations and etc. of the modern. It gets very, very difficult and also complex here for both sides, actually. Usually after C6, you follow it with D5. And after F4, instead of seeing the D5 option, which will be answered with E5 or Knight to F3, Queen to B6 from Leela Chess 0, already just pressuring the D4 pawn. Easy Knight F3 from Dragon here defending. And the problem here with these modern type positions, sometimes even in King's Indians, you will have the whole center will be whites. And that's a lot of space. And if you're playing a very strong player, it's very difficult to play like that unless you know all the correct pawn breaks, meaning moves like D5, F5, C5, and when to do them when it benefits you. After Knight to F3, there is D5 here, and it looks like the pawn is hanging, but in fact, it is actually not. After Knight takes D5, you can play Queen to A5 check, and then after Knight to C3, you have Knight to C6 with pressure. So, I mean, it's hanging, but it's not really hanging because of the compensation that you'll be getting back. This is hanging. Bishop D2, you have Knight takes D4 happening, stuff like that. It's not the best. And if you play D5, you actually run into like Bishop takes C3s, or Knight B4 followed by Bishop takes C3. It's just a whole sea of complications you're not looking to do, right? This is why they give you the pawn. So after D5, there's E5 to shut it down and get even more space. After the E5 move, Bishop to G4, pinning the Knight. And if Bishop takes, then the Queen is going to take on D4. So Queen takes F3 would be the move where you have to damage your structure. Hence the move Bishop to E2. E6, locking the bishop outside the pawn chain and not inside like you will see in the Caro-Kanns. Because in the French, the bishop's on C8 in this type of position. So it makes sense. Lock the bishop outside the pawn chain. And B3 from Dragon, wanting to move the bishop, maybe even playing a Knight A4. And after Knight H6, you do indeed see a Knight A4, hitting the Queen, with maybe some Bishop A3 intentions. Queen to D8, and many of us would be thinking of the Bishop A3 move. Of course, Dragon can see much better than we can. So castles was the move for Dragon. And Knight to F5, getting the knight to the center. And this type of structure with black, the plan is very simple. You need to play C5 and F6, and sometimes even G5. Weirdly enough, because this is such a strong mass of center that you get squeezed a lot of times. You know, believe it or not, you get squeezed a lot because the center is very strong and they have a pawn on E5. The attacks sometimes are just easy for white to do. After H3, bishop takes F3. And rook takes F3. So now there might be some G4 and F5 eventually in here. H5 and say, you know what? You're not doing any of that. We're going to shut it down before it even happens. So white, okay, cool. Well, we got to figure out what we're going to do here. You know what? Let's just play some Bishop B2. Bishop B2 seems right. And then after Bishop to F8, we see C4. C4 is pretty good. C4 actually just gets some more space, right? Is maybe some C takes D5, rook to C1, maybe even grabbing more space with C5 and playing B4, B5, like you'll see in some London type positions. After the C4 move, H4, this is a very classical move that you'll see a lot because they're putting the knight on G3 and actually just clamping down on this square. So if you ever play G4 up just en passant or en croissant here, and we're just going to eat that one up and then it's gone. So after H4, there's Bishop to D3 attacking the knight. And right here, you know, modern players or person here playing with the modern defense is thinking, you know, I'm just fine here right now. I'm pretty good. You know, I don't see any attack. I don't see you actually making this really be a problem for me. So black chose to take right here on C4. Leela Chess is like, I'll just take on C4, right? Maybe bully this pawn, isolated pawn, right? So we can have a target for maybe later in the endgame. And then Dragon says, you know what? I'm going to take on F5, right? Then I'll take back on C4. But then, well, Leela Chess 0 read the play, said, okay, cool. You're going to do that. I'm going to play C3, right? But now after C3, okay, maybe I could take this way, or this way. But in fact, Dragon said, I'm going to do this instead. And in fact, you know, taking is important because you have two pieces hanging. So you either take it and give your piece back or move this piece and then knight takes. But what Dragon did was actually say, you know what? You can have the piece. Bishop takes E6. Big engine move from a big engine like Dragon. Bishop takes e6. Whoa, and says, take it. I dare you. And he did because the rook is hanging. So I'm getting more material here. I'm getting more material. So what does he say? You can have the other piece. He just sacked like 2 pieces here. Unbelievable in a way. 3, 4, 5, 3, 4. Yeah, he kind of sacked 2 pieces there. I mean, because really, he got one back. He did take one, but then he just sacked it and this one at the same time. And actually, I mean, this is not over yet. Watch this. Bishop takes f7. King takes. We take back on b2. Cool. Black's up a little piece right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. White got 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. But we got some compensation due to, you know, how this is going on. Maybe some f5 in the way. Queen d5. Of course, f5 did happen. After g takes, rook takes, king e8. And now watch this move. Now, of course, you know, we up 1 piece, right? Or when we're down 1 piece, Black's Leela Chess 0 is like, I'm up 1 piece. But Dragon's here is like, I'm down 1 piece. And when you're down a piece, the rule is sack another one. Said nobody. but Dragon did in this game. When you're down 1 piece, sack another one. Why not? Queen f1. After queen f1, queen takes d4, allowing queen takes b2. Look at this position. I'm down 2 pieces for real now, right? For real, down 2 pieces now. But if you look at the development, if we take stock of the position, Black might be getting mated. What do you mean mated? Well, you didn't develop yet, and the queen been out here in the wilderness just taking everything that she wants here. And after queen takes b2, here's the move. Rook to d1. It's about to get crazy. Black goes queen c2, another queen move, just to bring the queen back to civilization maybe. And then after queen to c2, queen f3. Rerouting, we don't have anything yet. You got to be careful. We got to wait for rook f7. We have to wait for it. After bishop e7, there's this e6 move, which is beautiful. Mandatory move. And you have, believe it or not, guys, there's only one move here to keep playing on as Black, right? If you try knight a6, I mean, this seems right. Knight a6 seems like a move. And then after knight a6, there's rook f8. And we great. This is ridiculous. Rook f8 is a monstrous move. Are you kidding me? Look at this. If bishop takes, queen f7's mate. Unbelievable. And then if rook takes f8, oh, okay, yeah. Can't check there, but I can check this way. Ouch. And then mate again. Beautiful. Beautiful. So you had to go knight d7 because you had to block this whole thing. So e takes d7. All right, king d8, rook f7. Now we're only down 1 piece, and your king is in the middle of the street. I'll take this all day and every day. Feeling great. Queen to g6 and queen f2. A little bit of rerouting. Queen g3. You think we about to trade queens? Absolutely not. Queen f1. Queen g6 and then a3, which is a sort of a weighty move in a way. It's very interesting how sometimes all this going on, and then they just stop to play a3 in like a game where you sack 2 pieces and like the whole world is like shocked. a3. And then a3 and rook b8 and then queen f4 attacking the rook. Why not? Get on that file. Queen g3, defending through the queen, defending my rook over here. Queen f5, because we're not trading. Queen e3, queen back to f1, a little shuffle city. See what happens. Queen g5, finally, we got somewhere where we want it to be, right? But we can't take this usually yet. In fact, we just can't. After rook g8, boom, rook e1. There we go. Now we have where we want. Because this bishop's hanging, we're also threatening stuff like queen e8 at the right moment. And if rook to g7, we can actually play queen takes e7. And after queen takes e7, we can do rook e takes e7. And then takes and takes. And we're back in the game. Crushing it. And we were already back in the game. Like, we were just crushing it. So queen g5, queen e2, rook g8, or rook e1, king to c7. And because he had to move out of the way, like, this is real. Rook takes e7. Let's say he moves it like bishop here. Bishop here runs into queen e8, guys. Queen e8. And then after rook takes, queen e8 is mate. Or you can do it with the rook as well. Like 3 rooks, right? Just trolling here, trolling. But rook takes c7, and then rook b to d8, and rook to d1. At this point, okay, white is still in the driver's seat, but it's not mate anymore. And it really wasn't a mate. Of course, Leela Chess 0 is going to defend like a machine, right? A machine. But rook g7, rook takes, and queen e6. After queen e6, b6 check. Now here, watch this. Like, this has became more of a more salvageable game for Black. At least it seems like it. After king b7, b4, gaining some more space. And then here it goes. Queen g3. And after this move, this is over. After takes, we have a 100% winning endgame, no matter how you look at it with the white pieces. It does take accuracy and a lot of understanding your endgames and what you need to look for, but this is 100% a win. So So h takes g3, king to g1. King c7, h4, gaining some space. The rook is tied down, right? Rook takes d7 is going to lose in many cases. So h4, c5 takes, and then h5. Rook takes d7, again, loses because after I capture, I'm going to queen. You can't stop me. So c4 was played, trying to divert this rook so I can take this pawn. Pretty nice. h6, past pawns must be pushed. a6, h7, c3. After c3, we just move the rook to c1 because now you can't take with the rook anymore. And if you take with the king, I can do rook d1 check, then take, then queen. Like, nasty. In-game tactics. Rook h8. Rook takes c3, king takes d7, rook takes g3. We got the pawns. We're doing great here. And actually, rook takes h7 is the move that 90% of us would play. In fact, 99.99999% of people would do rook takes h7 here. But the in-game is just losing. We have two separate pawns here. The king has to be around to one of them, and the rook has to try to stop the other. And this is much harder than you think it is to draw. But rook takes h7. So that didn't happen. In fact, king e7 from Leela Chess 0. We're like, king e7. I guess that's one I'm not familiar with. Okay. Rook g8, right? And then after king f7, we have to what happened here? I don't even understand what I'm looking at. King f7. Now, I looked at this with the Leela Chess 0 engine part of Chess.com. And right here, actually, back here, they were already giving it like plus 75. From this position, Leela Chess 0 was saying this is already out. So the logic behind king f7 and not just taking the pawn on h7 is like crazy. Like as a human, right? Clap it up for yourself because we would have played rook takes h7. Right, but of course, king f7 happened, and then after rook takes h8, the game's over. I even went back and checked just to make sure I had the right PGN, but I did, and king f7 was the move. And after king f7, rook g8, this is just over. This is checkmate everywhere. Checkmate everywhere, but it was just very strange to see king f7 there. I was like, wait, was that a typo? Is something wrong? What is wrong? Did it malfunction? What is going on? Right, king f7, but of course, the game was already over, especially in Leela Chess 0 eyes. Saying plus 75 before we even put the rook to g8. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's game. I'm National Master James Cantor III here with Chess.com, and I'm gonna see you guys on the next video.